Welcome to the Reinvent You show. I'm George.
I'm Azlan. It's about seeing everyday challenges
Differently.
Welcome everybody to episode 12 now.
12?
Yes, episode 12. Can't believe we've been doing this for 12 weeks. 3 months.
The dirty dozen has been completed.
Which is a good segue to this week's biohack of the week. One thing I've learned, and it's just something that I've been doing subconsciously, is called temptation bundling. Have you heard of that?
No, but I'm intrigued.
Essentially what it is you write down a list of things that you need to do, and then you pair it like that. And that people who go to the gym, they don't like going to the gym. So therefore, some people like to watch Netflix while they're gymming. I don't know how you do that, but there are people out there who do that. And it is the only time they watch Netflix is when they go to the gym. So then temptation bundling, they call it. And I've been doing that quite a bit. And it's pretty fun. It's very easy to do. And it's very interesting to see what you can pair.
Love it. I like that.
Yeah.
I've done it instinctively, but now I want to do it more consciously, consistently.
There's an opposite to that as well, which is making things that are bad for you harder for you to access.
Yeah. What would you call that? Temptation dismantling?
Temptation restraint.
Yeah.
An example is I'm a very, very lazy person. So I like to eat chocolates, Mars bars. And so when
Mars bar.
That's right. This is not sponsored by Mars bars. But what I do now is I make it so hard for myself. So I take the Mars bar, I put it in the Ziploc bag, and then I put the Ziploc bag in a container, and then I put the container in a box, and I put it at the top.
And at midnight every night, you hear...
You hear me dismantling the box. But to be fair, I've not touched it.
Really?
The thought of trying to get it.
Oh my gosh, this is new level of lazy. It's like the lazy Olympics. I think if you went to the trouble of physically creating a ritual to decide that you did not want that sugar, that chocolate hit, I think that played a role too.
The intention.
Yeah.
That definitely played a role.
Because there was a lot of steps, physical steps and intention in that process. You know, when we talk about biohacking, I think also it is about meta hacking.
Explain.
Yeah, meta is to do with our neural wiring, what memes are in the brain, what meaning is in the brain. Like, what are the interconnected ideas that create the way we relate to something? So metaphysics is about the philosophical realm that touches the spiritual realm and tries to create some form of archetypal order and understanding so that we can have a sense of who we are beyond this body, the human existence, right? Metaphysics. And I just love it, but I also feel like a lot of metaphysics is too heavy on the archetype, esoteric archetypes, and doesn't connect enough down into the everyday, relatable human stuff. So metaphysics can be very like enchanting, mystical and exciting. And it evokes this sense of, I hope this is true. I'm going to decide I believe it's true because it just sounds so good. And just because it sounds good and you want it to be true doesn't mean it's true. So it's not satisfying enough for me anymore just to have metaphysics without how does it relate? How does it integrate? How does it verify and calibrate with bottom-up systems of nature? Because if you're going to believe in systems thinking and holistic thinking and unified theories, you have to think that way, right? I don't know how it connects, but I just want to believe it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So meta hacking for me is going, all right, here I am as a human, and look, I have an agenda, I have to confess.
Oh, what is that?
My agenda is I wrote a song called The Meaning Maker. Right.
So what's an example of a meta hack?
It's when you make something meaningful for the heart to align to the mind and your outside environment so you can have flow.
I love that.
Later, I want to play this song. I want to share the song. But it really is about you know why people write poetry?
Because they're bored. My brother-in-law actually loves
asked for that.
He did.
Because they're bored and they're good with rhyme words.
I know he likes to write poetry, so I'm just taking the piss. But
but why do people write poetry? Because when I was young, reading poetry, I go, what does this mean? It sounds good because it was too coded with symbols and metaphors. And then when the teacher got us to start to unpack it, this was even in high school, I was a little bit freaked out by how much was coded in each line, because you can read it on the surface and it sounds good and you kind of think you know what it means. But then there's a whole world that gets unveiled when you just think between the lines of what's contextualized behind those phrases from history of meaning and symbols and all that sort of stuff. And so I did enjoy a bit of poetry because of that, you know, and also rhyming is fun. It just, for some reason, there's a rhythm. And so suddenly language creates a sense of musicality in the poetic phrasing of words that rhyme. And then you just kind of get captured by that. But the reason why I say that is that with writing, it makes poetry less confusing and more relatable. Because I shouldn't say dumb it down, but you're pretty much saying rhythm and relatability needs to be more important than sophisticated layering of word phrases for people to sit with poetry, contemplate for an hour, 8 lines. You know what I mean? It's a different beast completely, right? A song is meant to move you pretty quick, but after it moves you, if you listen to it enough, you start to realize, oh my gosh, I'm starting to now absorb lyrics and I'm starting to figure out there's amazing things that I like the way they're said and I now want to sing along. And I have to say to you, in my history, I wasn't much of a word person. I get swept up by the song for its melody, its rhythm, its harmony. And I would only catch like 50% of the lyrics and enjoy them, like the bridge and chorus, some of the cool phrases in the verses. But I would be hopeless for remembering words and really being able to tell you what a song was really trying to say.
I think that's the same for everyone. I've never listened. I've never looked at behind the meanings of the word. I just sing it. Or even nursery rhyme. Like nursery rhyme is so dark. Like they've written all this stuff about people dying and then kids are singing it. And then I learned, that's why I was nodding my head when you said there's a lot of meaning behind the metaphor, like the rhymes, because that was some dark stuff. Like I forgot what it was Jack and Jill or something crazy. And it was like people, like the plague, people dying.
Ring a rosy.
Yeah, that one there.
That's the plague, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the plague. So you're right. There's a lot of meaning. And so
people dying in the masses. It's kind of spooky, isn't it?
Very spooky.
But I think it soothes children. But look, when you know that the environment is traumatic and you watch a child who's about to be traumatized by the interpretation of that environment being, you know, too scary. If you can quickly get in and bypass the child's processing to a song that reframes the environment and distracts them, you actually can really help them mitigate a lot of the impact. I remember, for example, when my daughter was literally like so young, like maybe a year and a half or 2, and we had some seriously violent thunder and lightning, and we're at the window. Now, I love thunderstorms. So I got my little Congo drums. I sat her by the window and I started to create rhythms and I synced it with the thunder.
Oh.
And then every time the thunder cracked, I made that into a celebration of this is part of the rhythm. And my daughter got swept up in enjoying the thunderstorm because of that rhythm.
Beautiful.
And now today she loves thunderstorms.
Wow. That's actually a very smart thing to do.
Remember, I've mentioned this every now and then, but I want to really bring it up as a big deal. The frontal lobe of the brain right here is very powerful. The subconscious is hoarding 95% of the time what the frontal lobe entertains. In other words, everything from your past, all the habits you've developed, all the assumptions around what reality you're in, are auto by your subconscious to make your life easier, right? And here, this is the real estate of your conscious where you can interject and question your subconscious. That 5% real estate of your free will going, does it need to be that way? Why am I feeling compelled to be like this right now? That is that 5% of, do I really want the same in the next moment as I had in previous moments? Can I have a better perspective outside of my current compulsion, right? Right here. So how powerful is your frontal lobe if that's where powerful change happens? Very powerful, right? Now, what do advertisers do? They compete for it every day.
That's
Billions of dollars of advertising being channeled through all the media outlets. They're competing for it. Look here, you're nothing without this product.
Or they evoke emotion, like you drive a Porsche. That's how you feel.
Yeah. Do you want to be a real man?
Yeah. I just saw one this morning. Your watch defines you.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea. I got to be
Who
careful.
am I?
this definition may not meet needs. Maybe they're the experts on
Identity,
yeah. This watch defines you.
That was the starting point of the thing. So yeah, very, very good timing.
But that's actually interesting because when you phrase something that sounds like, oh, what a great advertising statement, but you take a step back and you go, that's actually pure dark manipulation. A watch does not define you. You define you.
Correct.
And misguided perception can invite you to be defined, and material things should not define you.
But they've done a pretty good job in Asia.
So I talk about the frontal lobe. It is precious real estate. But do we, when we wake up and decide what we're exposed to through the day, and as things come and say, hi, I would like to hold you in a place where I decide your meaning, like, the phrase, a watch defines. Can you just stop? I want to bypass your conscious and I want to just get into your frontal lobe and be your conscious to try to get your subconscious reprogrammed. Your conscious right now wants to go for a walk or wants to spend time with your child or wants to do anything, right? It's like, no, I want to talk to you about how your watch defines you and that you are nothing. The watch we're selling, right? So how aware are we of this?
No, not really.
We're not protecting this precious frontal lobe going, what goes ends up coming out of us in who we think we are. So then you go, why do I feel like, I'm asked, why do I feel like that brand of this, that brand of that? Why do I feel like it? Because it got in. And music is seductive and it puts you into a trance. And so when you are in a hypnotic trance, the messages get in, which is why you got to be careful. What are you listening to? What are you watching? Because there's a fight to program you for the profit of others. And it's not just products. It's, I want you to think ideologically my way politically. So there's this constant, fight for your frontal lobe real estate of you should be left is meaningful. You should be right is meaningful. And I say all this because now, I'm tying it back to the meta hacking. And then I, for myself, I did not know how much I was a passenger of everybody else dictating what meaning I have to be enslaved to live in. I had no idea. And so I reached, adulthood completely captured by everything. I was like a fish in a little bowl. And they said to me, this is your bowl of reality. And that's how you're going to live your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think everybody falls into that trap, don't we?
It's all over the place. And it's like, well, free will is to choose between this brand of watch and that brand of watch. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So later when I play this song, it'll be about, what do you mean? It's like, what makes life meaningful to you? What ideas make life more special to you, more exciting to be alive? Because like when you present a biohack and people go, this kind of makes life more meaningful to me, to feel like I'm in more control of my life. Those children are an ugly world at the time that people knew psychology. They knew that they need children to be distracted and that their frontal lobes need to be about seeing things and desensitizing them from people falling and dying from them. When I watch, how are they framing their choice of news, their angle of news, because they want me to and create meaning in reality based on what they've decided is meaningful, right? So if you add that layer of observational analysis, you will start to see the difference between you and other people deciding what is meaningful as a subjective choice, not as an objective reality. It won't be experienced as truth and absolute anymore. It'll be experienced as subjective and optional.
Right.
And that is really freeing to live life that way.
Yeah.
Seeing everybody share stuff, but you don't just automatically buy the Kool-Aid. You discern. And if you go, you know what? I like that point of view. I like that opinion. It checks in with a lot of things that I've consciously can really see is the way I want to live my life. Then you take it on. You took it on consciously.
Yep.
In other words, you're back to being the legitimate gatekeeper of what goes in.
And it diffuses a lot of the anger as well, because it's just another opinion. It's just another perspective, which you can choose to take or choose to just leave by the door. So,
Well, it's interesting you say that because you just took it to, well, what about everyday people that we're interacting with? Why can't we apply the same? And absolutely. It becomes an interpersonal skill to manage the opinions of others.
I want to talk about what I've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks, what I've noticed on Facebook. So I'm 40, and a lot of my friends on Facebook and Instagram, their posts have completely stopped, like completely just stopped. And a lot of the posts that I'm seeing now, either of them with their kids, very rarely. In fact, not many. And some people. And so I was really curious. So I started looking in Facebook in detail as to what kinds of posts are there. And it's mostly to do with, I'm at the gym, look at me. Girls do that now. They girls, it's all gym. I think they're trying to recapture their youth. So they're all going to the gym and they're showing their bodies and eating healthy. And then guys, it's about their businesses. They're standing beside a big order, or they're standing, developing land, or being a CEO, showing themselves praying. It's very different now to how it used to be back then. And it really got me thinking about, at what point did we consciously decide to draw a line where we go, I'm going to stop doing all the fun stuff. I'm going to show things that I should be doing at my age. And I felt that was what I am here trying to figure out, trying to kickstart my my humors. And I feel like I'm regressing compared to these people, because I'm going the opposite way, and my self-criticism kicks in and go, Azlan, what are you doing? Like, nobody on Facebook, you got 900 friends, are showing the funny sides to themselves. None. And
Maybe they're not funny.
It's impossible. Maybe that. Or maybe they don't value humor as much.
No, I think they do. I think it's a confidence issue.
Yeah. And I'm having that. I'm trying to bridge that gap. But it was very interesting to and then I sat down and thought about it a bit more, about how I'm expected, or I'm expected to stop all the fun stuff. I'm supposed to be a responsible adult now.
Do you feel that pressure? It's real.
I feel it, but it's not that big. But when it comes to social media, yeah, I do.
There.
I'm not gonna post my funny side to the 900 people like I used to know. Like, it's going to be, and maybe it's me collapsing on myself, like my own self-criticism and my own judgment that I put on others. And that's why it's crashing on me.
Who shaped the identity that the 900 people expecting to stay consistent? Who collapsed, who shaped and made that identity now your chain around your neck?
Me, I think. I don't know.
Well, was it you, or were you captured by everyday signals? Be this way, you should be this way. We accept you this way, you're accepted. This way, you're not. This way, you're accepted. This way, you're not. So it's like a cascading down from media, pop culture. It's just relentless, right? And we are in that fishbowl. And eventually, a fish does not grow beyond its environment. Like, that fish can grow 10 times more, but it stays that small because it instinctively knows that's the environment will only allow it to be that small. And this is like an existential crisis right now, when you think to yourself, am I being the meaning shaped by others who don't really know me, care about myself, or am I really being me? And do I even know how to be me? Because I've been raised not to even know how to be me. So it's like I have to kind of figure that out. So maybe it's a compassionate process to figure that out.
And I think what's helped me a lot is my values. Now I know what my values are. And so when you do something new, you always align it to your values. Is this a reflection of my values? Which is joy, happiness for me, and is it...
You're so shallow. Joy, happiness. They're my values. I just want to be happy. No one else can get stuffed.
Fun,
Meat and wine.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a very simple person. I'm a simpleton. And so when and that was my first step, like, thinking about my values. Am I aligned to my values? I'm not trying to pretend someone that I'm not. This is actually what I want, right? And then you start to think about, okay, what else can I do to get meaning out of this? And then there was a whole question about my humor. Is humor valuable? And we spoke about this before, but I'm slowly coming to terms with it. It's so funny. Like, a lot of people don't really care about what Azlan is, and they don't expect a lot from me anyway, because I was never the smartest kid at school or whatever. So I don't know where this came from. This whole, I can't be funny, when everybody knows I'm funny guy on Facebook. Everybody knows. Oh, I expected that from Azlan. I bet you, if I were to post all the clips in Facebook, I was like, if it's anyone, he's the one who's going to do it. Me and another guy. There's two more guys that I know who are funny and naturally loves to joke around, right? The class clown, they call us. And so it's funny how I've got this own thing when nobody really, I just look at the post and I go, do I really want to shake up the whole system by putting a post of a 40-year-old man that doing memes? What am I doing? Memes at 40. But that's my own internal process that I'm working through.
I should be doing a business and memes don't mix cause.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
That's meta meaning.
Right.
When you go, oh, look, my meta meaning is that I can't be an individual and be funny and have a business.
Successful.
You're either you have a decision, serious
and be rich, or
serious or funny, entertaining, and poor.
Yeah.
Make a decision. We don't live in an abundant world.
Yeah.
You can't have authenticity, a flow of being entertaining and enjoying a part of you that builds something that is a serious part of you because of your, your financial goals or whatever. No, those two can't be baked together.
I see what you're saying. It's like a limiting belief. So it's definitely a limiting belief. It's like either or, mutually exclusive.
Yeah. So when we talk about meta meaning, is that meaningful to you? What we just exposed that you're operating from, is that meaningful to you? It's meaningless. You see? Now, do you want to stay operating in a meaningless state?
No, definitely not.
Because it feels uncomfortable, doesn't it?
Very uncomfortable.
It's almost as if someone took your wallet, opened it up.
There's no money in it. No, I'm joking. Yeah.
Actually, this
I just had to.
Unfortunately, this metaphor used to work like 20 years ago.
We use our phones now, by the way.
All right. Let me update the dumb metaphor. If someone took your phone and then double clicked and quickly got your face recognition for a PayPal,
sure,
and bought themselves a meal for $100 right in front of you, like you're waiting in line to pay,
rude,
and they just go click and you just paid their bill.
Gosh,
how would you feel?
I don't know. Violated.
You would?
If someone took my phone and paid for $100, I'd be pissed.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be like, what are you doing, man?
You would, wouldn't you? You losing $100 in your life.
Yeah.
Is not good, is it?
No. Where are you going with this?
And the $100 is yours, right?
Yeah, it's mine.
And now it's not.
It's a nice meal. It's a tomahawk.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if someone said to you, you're not allowed to have the truth that you can be yourself and be successful, and then you said, I will live to the allegiance of a made-up limitation to hurt myself every day with my choice. Which one's worse?
The $100. I mean, no, the other one.
My whole point was going to crash. No, George, $100 is much more important. You understand me and money. You see, we are programmed to tolerate being owned through meaning.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It is definitely uncomfortable for me, and I want to break out of this. It's so funny. It almost seems trivial, but it's such a big mountain for me to climb. It is something that I'm getting. I'm actually climbing this mountain.
No,
I know it.
I know you are. But what if we could meta mean it to be not so much of a mountain?
Ooh.
You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying, because saying it's a mountain makes it feel hard.
So what?
I'm sliding down this slide.
What meaning have you used to make it a mountain?
It's a crisis. It is a judgment. There's so many things I have to, in my mind, I have so many things that I need to solve.
Gotcha. This is good. So already, just by you answering that, you gave yourself the areas where there's meaning interconnected. Like, for example, identity, right? Identity. Great. So apparently you have to figure out who you are, who you should be. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a dad now. I need to get my shit together,
Yeah. So when you're a dad, pay attention. You have to get your shit together, right?
Yeah.
And what is that shit?
I don't know. Being serious, having proper finances, having a proper business, doing things
proper.
Yeah.
What makes them proper?
Because society says it's proper. Like, it's
because business is meant to be a vehicle for trading goods, services, and therefore you got to make
valuable.
Yeah, you got to make a proper
contribution.
Yeah. In other words, where do we land with meaning so that others love our meaning too? That makes sense, right? If I'm trying to sell something nobody cares about, it's not meaningful to them, then I'm going to fail at that business, whatever it is that I'm trying to, make a living. I have to create meaning where meaning is connects me to the marketplace. Because if I'm not connected to the marketplace with the value exchange, and being a good father needs to include being a good provider. And so see how we find meaning. We go, you know what? I like that meaning.
I don't like the meaning that I've created for myself.
No. What I'm saying is there's meaning that you don't like, but there's also meaning you do like.
Yeah.
And I was just I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to show you that you've already got half the story. In other words, I reckon half the meaning that you've got deserves to be seen properly, to be valued, because I believe there is a context to be proper. In other words, no, it's going to be funny for shits and people have to just deal with it, right? It's like, yeah, but if you're going to be really funny, you have to keep getting feedback, because if you're the only one laughing, then fine, that's your therapy, but that's the only meaning that has. So don't bother sharing it then, you see? But if you're going to share your humor on social media, it means you genuinely want to share something that can be meaningful to others. And we talked about this before, about humor is a valuable product. But are you really being funny for the meaningfulness of entertainment only? Or do you want to be funny for the meaningfulness of learning about life in a way that's relatable for growth? And I think you lean on the latter, right? Because you don't want it to be funny for funny's sake. You want to poke at the meta-meaning nonsense in society. Isn't that what humor does? He goes, check out how we're captured by this meaning let me show you the angle that exposes it's meaningless. And then we laugh because we go, oh my gosh, that's so funny. We live this way when it's so hypocritical because of this. And your punchline exposed it. We love that, don't we?
Interesting.
It is interesting because I think that what you're doing and what I feel I have to do in my journey parallel with you, and that I think I've been doing too, is that where is the me going to connect in the value exchange, so that it's not just about my values for what my relationship with myself, just for me. I don't live in a vacuum. I don't exist in a vacuum. I want to make sure that who I want to be dances with the external environment in a way that's meaningful.
Got it.
And the only way it's going to be meaningful is because the way I choose to be lands well for others. Now, let's come full circle. 900 people, right? How can you land for 900 people in a way to let yourself evolve and please enough of them enough times to make it worthwhile? Because firstly, you're not going to please 900. Can we be clear?
Yeah.
That would be meaningless if we had to please everyone. What a meaningless existence. Because that would collapse free will, that some people can decide not to be in the mood. They don't feel like the product you're selling. That, who gives a crap? Like people should be allowed not to want something. Just like you and me. Imagine we had to buy everything that everybody was selling because we're not allowed to upset anyone. And then we go broke.
Yeah.
The whole thing doesn't make sense, right? It's meaningless. Let's come back to, can you give, receive, and then evolve through that mechanism to land on maybe 600 of the 900, maybe 750. And maybe by landing well for the 300 of the 900, or 100 of the 900, landing so well that an extra 300 show up who are like that first 100, that make 900 go to 1,200. And then you super serve that 400, because the 300 that came because of you knowing how to super serve and enjoy the ride. Another 500 come, and another 100 of the original drop off. You see, life is not static. You're not meant to just hold on to everything and build with control. It's a flow, and you got to let people leave your life graceful. But remember, you're not letting ego get in control. You are giving, and then you're letting their feedback guide you with the dance. Then you tweak because you care, because you want to be relevant, because you care, right? That's part of your core values, isn't it?
Yeah.
He only gave me 2, joy and it just reminds me of those Asian dolls that dance, the joy and happiness dolls.
That's money, but yeah.
Yeah. But I know you got more values than that.
Yeah.
And one of those values is to be relevant and meaningful to others.
As of late. Yes. As of late.
But that's huge. That's probably why you're evolving so much, because you're reconnecting. But see how the 900 now changes its meaning? You're no longer a slave to the existing 900.
I need to rewatch this a couple of times just to get that in. But I know that's a good context shift. And I was thinking as well as you were talking about how I've noticed at my age, there's a lot of problems happening in relationships and all of that, right? And why don't I just poke fun at that? I feel like
there's a lot of material.
Yeah, and even like interpersonal relationships with expectations from the society. At 40, there's so much crisis that that we are facing at this age that I can poke fun of, and I can make, because I know I spoke to a lot of friends who are struggling, and I can take their struggle and make it into something funny for them to feel reprieve. That
sounds beautiful.
That would now, as I look at the 900, I'll be like, I can help you.
It's about bursting silly meaning to release you from it.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? So you're a meta meaning comedian.
And that's how I grow, because you said that there was that part of you that wants to grow from humor. And I was thinking, how am I going to grow from humor by being silly and, I'm doing memes, and I go, oh, maybe this, like helping people realize this. And then eventually it will change, my style of comedy and what I learned throughout the process. Like there's this whole setup as well is teaching me a lot of new things. So if I can remain consistent, change will follow organically. I had a thought about it this morning.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how, if we are consistent, I know now at work, there's always 2 or 3 people who shine, right? And I realize that if I know how to pick somebody now and go, those people, if you put them in a different setting and get them to be consistent, they will make great things out of it. Just like me with this now. If I like doing this, I just have to be consistent. Eventually I'll evolve and I'll get better and better and better. And so it's that consistency that's going to be core. So all I'm trying to say is that I'm going to commit to one skit from today onwards. You hold me accountable. 1 skit a week just to get myself to the rhythm. I've gotten to a point where I know I can do it now. I've got a lot of material to do, and I've got the Mac and I've got everything ready. Right? There's no more excuses. Now it's just locking in the intent.
All right. So if he doesn't share every week, can everyone please troll him?
No, do it. I want to lock in. I want to grow. And this is the unknown. And
a lot of us are raised with the understanding and the responsibility to keep evolving. Growing is evolving, to evolve to what is the next version I need to be to stay relevant. No organism in nature can afford to rest on its laurels and go, you know what, I'm a good enough species, I'll just stay the same.
Yeah.
Never does that happen, because nothing stays still. Everything's evolving. And that's why I use the 900 as an example of, it's a flowing stream. It's not a stagnant pond. This is your 900. You better get it right for this 900. You live here, because in 5 years' time, there might only be 400 of that 900.
But then there'll be a new.
And another 300,000 or 6 million or 30 million or 50 million, but only 400 of the first 900.
I know what you're saying.
Who am I to limit the audience?
Yeah.
What?
And why am I so afraid of losing them? If they don't connect with my stuff, then unfollow me, But I'm like, oh man, I really want to risk that crowd.
Yeah.
I think the day will come when when you see me posting regularly on Facebook, I've crossed that bridge. Right now, it's Instagram and YouTube. But Facebook is where I go, oh my gosh, all my friends are here. For like 20 years, they're all here, and I'm not ready.
Yeah.
So I'll get there. I'll get there.
Yeah, maybe there's intuition there of, I will deliver to them when I'm in my flow, authentic to what I'm sharing. And it's meaningful enough to me. Maybe that's what's happening too. So I guess you should be compassionate.
Yeah.
You're allowed to experiment and wait until you land before you pull the trigger on the 900.
It is so, I love that statement so much, because mistakes, being at this age at 40, there's almost like a feeling that I can't make mistakes anymore. I have to show that I know what the answers. I cannot be as vulnerable and as not reckless.
You're so annoying.
As 20 years old.
You just come that way all the time.
Yeah.
I have to be perfect. I have to level up. I have to get everything right. I have to put
I don't know.
myself I have to biohack myself to heaven yesterday.
Yeah, I want to be the Azlan I've always been, which is, and I excel at that. You know, I excel at failing. I excel at being vulnerable. I excel at it. And I want to show it.
Next minute, Azlan comes. I've biohacked prayer. I know how to access God faster.
Yeah, I've got this sign language that calls on God. But yes, I want to always be the old Azlan where I'm always making mistakes. Everyone's always saying, oh, look at Azlan, he's doing that. Because I learned so fast like that. I learned the best like that. And I love that process of learning. Instead of learning about the map in Paris, you just throw me in there. And I love it. I told him.
Yeah, but that's because you have decided subconsciously that you're a good problem solver.
Ooh.
You see, that's why you have an appetite to learn. Because when you're presented with something that's not working or that you don't know what it means, you already, your default position out of habit says, I'm in a process and that's not going to stay the same on the other side. I'm going to get clarity, I'm going to get understanding, and I'm going to get ideas with my resourcefulness and my skills to create something on the other side that works. You see, and therefore you have an appetite for learning because you get rewarded. You actually do learn and you get rewarded.
It's like a dopamine hit.
Yeah. And I wish that for everyone. I wish that for everyone because it's the key to creating the life that's beautiful and meaningful. Because you see, you say you love learning, but the truth is humanity is meant to love learning. And watch people start to get distracted, fatigued, afraid. They move away from them. It's like, I don't want to learn this. This is too hard. This is beyond me. It's like, well, then what's happening is the fish in the bowl has resigned itself to the one fixed identity. It will remain that size and everything will stay the same. Now, for a fish with a 2-second memory, that rock that, I remember Eddie Murphy joked about this. It swims around the fishbowl and then 2 seconds later, it feels as if it's having a new life. And it's like, oh, a rock. And then it goes around and it comes out, oh, a rock. So, but we don't have a 2-second memory. But maybe in a similar way, we are living like that fish in the bowl.
There's just so many layers to it.
I know. It's like, oh shit, am I that fish in the bowl?
We
all the fish in the bowl in the areas where we don't feel like life is changing in a timely way to give us more satisfaction. So we tolerate that. We've been programmed to be desensitized and to drift and to allow it to keep happening. And so when we have these conversations, it's almost like we're pointing at something and we're saying, can it be different? Why is it this way? And the brain goes, oh gosh, you're hurting my head now. I'm so, it's so easy for me to be the same. And now you're kind of bugging me and trying to make me different. It's like, well, you're not, the brain is meant to be a device that updates and it's meant to be serving your heart. Now, if it's not updating, it's not serving your heart.
Yeah.
And then if the advertising industry and the media are the ones that update you based on what they want you to do next, it's a slave nation. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
Meta slave. In other words, everyone else decides what's meaningful to me and I just bounce between where they want me to think next.
So how about, that's a challenge for you then.
Oh God, here we go. Challenge.
No, what you told me about what was the, so before the show.
Oh yeah, the Facebook,
Yes.
Yeah, I actually thought about that and I was going to bring it up. So then I was making excuses going, every time, like if I shared on Facebook, right? I used to have 100 people like my stuff. Then the algorithm just started to tighten it because I wasn't aligning to the nice meaning that Facebook algorithms decided it wanted to promote. I was poking the bear. I was challenging established thinking and it just kept squeezing me down to 5 likes or 10 likes. Now, here's the interesting thing. If I share a puppy and my face, it reacting to the puppy, it bumps up to 50. If I share something so profoundly meaningful that it's exactly what we all should be really discussing with each other for the betterment of our children, 2 likes.
Ooh.
I don't like that. I'm not happy. I'm just venting right now.
So wait,
I need to be wiser. Help me, Azlan.
you have to be on the pedestal, Josh. Now, quick question. Have you tried post? So you're saying you posted the same, did you post the same material but with different pictures and try it that
No,
way?
I'm not testing like you.
Oh,
But
Mr. Biohacker.
I love that. It's like, George, did you do proper test measure processes
Like for like.
on your social media posts with your family and friends? No, look.
So what do you feel? Do you feel like you're being targeted?
No. I feel that the platforms over time likely created echo chambers, you see? And so now only the people that share my ideology are allowed to see my posts, and those outside of that will not even see it in their news, right? And not just that, but because Facebook wants to make money, if I've got say 1,500 friends or something. I don't know, actually, to be honest. I don't even know how many I've got. 1% of them, that is the average of how many people will see a post max. So for me, I just lost the interest in sharing as much. But sometimes I feel like sharing for some reason, and I just do, right? But I just generally slip back out of it again.
Right.
Because I don't have a genuine and also here's another factor. I found myself being a little bit too one-dimensional and repetitive. So in other words, the same things would bother me, the same thing, I would notice the same things that didn't make sense, and then I'd share a creative way to complain about it. You know what I mean? Or point at it. And I think that was not good for me, because I just felt like, no, I'm more than just reacting to the stuff that I feel is hurting people.
I see what you mean. You just come from a different angle.
Yeah,
but
it's like, I don't want to be the
sauce.
meta police.
Yeah.
You know, like I want people to be in the company of discussing and debating together. And that's gone in social media. It's like you were saying, everybody's afraid to post, right? It's like, what are we really using social media for? Is it not to go, hey guys, I believe this? It's like, but I don't believe that. Why? And then suddenly we're both learning from each other. How much is that happening now on social media? No. You know why? You disagree with me. You're blocked. We block alternative ideas and meaning. So how are we ever going to unpack each other's meaning with love? It just doesn't happen. And so I kind of feel jaded and desensitized by the way social media is being used for, look at me at the gym. Look at my lifestyle. It's so wonderful. Look at me, look at me running this business. Look at me with my next big order. I'm just summarizing what you shared because I can relate to that. So I see that a lot. It's like, what do I post? Am I posting, I just got a new puppy and I love this puppy and I'm going to share it with you because I want you on that journey? I actually think that's legitimate and that's a beautiful thing to do. And family get excited that you got a new puppy.
Yeah.
Also, oh my gosh, I've worked so long for 6 months. Finally, I'm going on a holiday. I'm going to share with you guys how happy I am. I'm going on a holiday. I'm at the airport with the family. Oh shit, we've landed somewhere. I'm going to share that we're in this nice resort with this pool because I feel that you would want to be happy for me. So that gets a tick, right? But so I reckon there's a real genuine, hey, can I share my life with you? My highs and lows, oh, my dog died. I'm really sad. And it's like, shit, I know what it's like to lose a dog.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you for sharing that. I want to be there for you and I want to give you a message of condolence, right? So highs and lows, be there for each other. I agree with that. I think that's beautiful. But there's another layer that you were pointing to that I can see as well, which is how do I need to be to get people to like me and accept me and I can influence them. And that dominates a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. And so for me, I felt like I care about humanity so deeply because I want each individual to feel their worth and to feel that this world is theirs as much as it's anyone else's and that they can create a reality that's deeply meaningful to them, right? I want that for 8 billion people. Now, I also know that it's not on my shoulders to be responsible for that, but I do have a constant drive to notice opportunities where I see something that is preventing people from being on that path and then exposing it. So I'll expose media nonsense, news nonsense, all sorts of ideological nonsense. I will do that. And yeah, I sound a little bit elitist when I say nonsense, because who are you to decide something is nonsense? But that goes full circle back to what I was saying before. Where is the arguments? Where are people saying, George, it's not nonsense because, what do you mean? And then suddenly I was like, I get that context. You're right. It's not nonsense. You know, it doesn't exist. You know, people just look at posts and go, that person's on that again. Yeah, scroll later.
Dislike.
So this death scroll, also, we know that only every third or fourth post is of a page, and every like sixth or seventh or eighth post is of an actual friend's post. So it takes a lot to scroll just to get a connection with someone you care about. So I don't know, man. I feel a bit desensitized from social media. And maybe I'm not alone, and maybe you're witnessing people, they're just tired of this game of who do I need to be to get likes. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't care to get these likes. They don't mean anything to me. If I got 1 million likes, I'd be like, oh my gosh, a lot of people are resonating with me on something.
Yeah,
this feels special. So I guess you'd like that too.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely feel elated if 1 million people liked it, but then I ask myself, why? You know, and so it's very interesting how it works both ways, really. And it's something that you just have to, I think, for me, come to terms with as well, and try to change my perception of it. This is what we've been discussing, this whole topic.
Yeah.
It's definitely uncomfortable, but
you know, the full circle is maybe I was that fish there.
Yes.
Because what am I doing? I shouldn't complicate it. I should go back to what I was saying to you earlier and apply that to myself, which is, so what that I've got thousands of friends and only 1%? Super serve that 1%, and maybe that 1% will create another, you know?
with the engagement, there was one guy who said, CEO for a day, he said, I would rather have one person engaging in every video rather than 1 million followers who don't, you know?
Yeah.
And I can serve that one person.
And I think that's beautiful that you were saying, honor what's in front of you and go all in for that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of meaning to that. It feels meaningful, doesn't it?
It does feel meaningful.
It resonates deeply that we be there for each other, all in. And I guess that's why we're doing these podcasts, because we decided that us having conversations and caring about what each other think and letting that just be an adventure was being all in for each other on this commitment. And that even if no one heard our conversation, we both leave those conversations feeling a genuine satisfaction.
Yeah, because we're being authentic.
Well, if you say so.
No, I mean, for me,
I was being funny. I'm not that funny. Oh, well.
It's good effort though. Good effort.
Yeah, I am the funny one here between.
Got me thinking a question that I was asking myself the other day as well. Like, how can I went on this mission to hide all of my videos because they were mistakes. They were completely wild videos. I did one where I was interviewing AI. I did one with, doing a blog. And I'm like somewhat ashamed of my mistakes. But coming back to what we just talked about, all of those things is part of my growth. I shouldn't hide them. I should just leave them there and let take everyone on the ride with me to see how I'm evolving in this vulnerable state of not knowing what I'm doing. And
yeah, if you tie the way you relate to your past and make it meaningful into where you're at in the moment, that's part of your brand journey. People to feel like they're with you in your evolution. So you're not held at ransom to your past because you framed it in the moment moving forward. So it stays meaningful, that you're allowed to have a go, experiment, create things that you wouldn't recreate ever again and that you don't value as much anymore, but they were legitimate stepping stones.
Yeah, this is pretty, brave stuff. I never really thought of it that way. I always thought I had to pull up a front just to, and I talked to my wife about this. I said, and she says, why? I said, because of the reputation of the family. You married a funny guy who's doing memes at 40. How is that going to affect you and your friendships? And she says, my girls don't care. I don't care. It's what you want to do. We already made it. Like it's life is great. Like what's wrong with you? I was like, oh, so you don't care? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay.
Because you thought your meaning was her meaning. And then previously when we unpacked it, you went, that's meaningless. It was already meaningless to her.
Yeah. But not having that conversation, I don't want to put you guys in a position where people start teasing you, like you married a clown. What is he? Look at this guy. He's got a doctor, he's a surgeon. This guy is driving a Merc to school. And what is Azlan doing,
He's a clown.
He's just a clown. He's never changed.
You married a circus clown.
I get people on Facebook messaging me, say, Azlan, I just saw your video. It looks like you never changed. And that's the message that I get. And it was such a weird message. Like I've never spoken to these 3 people.
That was triggering.
Yes, it triggered me. I did one video and suddenly out of nowhere, this 3-person, 2 females and 1 male,
all said,
yeah,
you haven't changed.
And these 3 people I've never talked to in like almost 20 years since high school. And they went, oh, Azlan, I saw your new video. It looks like you've never changed. Okay. And I just left it at that. I didn't even respond. I'm like, okay, whatever. But
he was butthurt.
I mean, how can you not be impacted by that? Because especially when you're trying something new.
I'd be offended.
You know?
Like, I have changed. Fuck you. No, but can we be fair to you that does hurt? Because these guys, when they saw that, all they cared about is what they decided it meant. They didn't actually say, I always remembered you as funny and here you are still being funny. What's going on in your life lately, Alan? They didn't decide there was more to you than that.
Yeah.
That 10-second video. And I don't want to judge them because they're busy in their own life. Yeah. And they don't think much of it. They just look at that and they go, oh, he hasn't changed. Oh, you haven't changed. And they move on. They move on. No sense that you're They have no idea that you're in the fetal position.
I was definitely taken aback by that. And that question, my whole question about what am I doing? You know, it creeps into your brain, especially when you're trying something new.
Maybe it changed you for the better. Maybe you went, hang on a minute.
Oh, it definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be a brand that sells itself as it doesn't change. It stays being silly with humor just for humor's sake, right? I don't want that to be my brand. And I can see that the feedback I got is that I am static in humor for humor's sake, right? And then that made you want to go deeper into yourself.
Yeah.
I think they did you a favor.
They did. I mean, we come back to about feedback.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that. Do it more, but just be kind. It got me into this whole tangent. Like I'm going deep now into all of this now, trying to unpack all of these barriers and going, okay, what is going on here? What is this? What is that? What is this? Why is this? And, you know, what's my values? Am I aligned to my values? Am I genuinely enjoying these skits? The answer is yes.
Yes.
There's some of them that I laugh, you know, when I'm doing them, I laugh. And I'm like, I know when I like it, means I have to post it. Yeah. But when I'm doing it for someone else, when I'm trying to fit a trend, trend, then it's empty. So my process is whenever I do it, do I giggle inside? If I do, and I'm excited about it, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
And that is so all of these things helped me come to where I am now. And it's so exciting for people to see my growth with this channel and my channel and see how crack this open.
Yeah.
And that is my growth. And I'm fueled by that now. You know, like I have this, I'm going to do this. There's nothing stopping me now. Once I fix my mind to it, like this, I'm going. And so now you'll see a skit from me this week. I guarantee you it's just going to be a skit coming out in 3 days. I'm just locked in now. I don't care anymore.
You don't sound like someone who's been up since 2:30. You're full of energy, mental clarity, passion.
I don't know. I feel like there's purpose. I feel like I'm locked in now. I feel like something is just locked in, like a purposeful discussion. And it drives like this. I got energy now suddenly out of nowhere. There's this sense of direction. I really enjoy doing skits. I do. I love memes. I like my face. I do. You know, doing facial expressions, it's not easy, man. Like, you know, when you're doing, especially silent memes, it's all about your angle and about your eyes, where it's rolling, your eyebrows. It is a science.
Yeah. So what you're learning the nuance of how to facially represent the actual meaning.
That's right.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It is. And you can come across as a psycho, like, you know, like a psychopath. Like there was one thing I was doing where, you know, I was talking about how I ad tagged my friend because they didn't want to tell me where the party was. And I was in the car just feeling like they don't really want you there. And to portray that hopefulness in your face, like, and you come across as a psycho.
No, you know what I mean? Like you're resourceful. Like you'll go, all right, who can I leverage it that's done this? Like that is always a good tool in the toolbox, isn't it? It's like, because lived experience is the richest contextualization of anything, right? Because it adds physical, it adds mental, emotional, it adds tangible mass interaction experience, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to someone with lived experience on something you're interested in, it's the closest you'll get to the intimacy of how to be yourself.
Yes.
That's why when you want to be coached by someone, you want to feel like they've lived, they've already on the other side of where you're at and where you want to go, so that you're going to get the best intuitive, nuanced guidance from that lived experience. And here you are, it's your go-to spanner who's lived this already. And it's such a good thing to reach for. And so when people are wanting to learn from people who've been there already, like it just helps, just quickly, rapidly connect the dots from someone who had to connect the dots already and got the value you're after. And so Jim Carrey, he lived The Mask, the movie The Mask, and others with his facial expression, Dumb and Dumber. And, like he was a master of getting that face to just deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely was. Wow.
And you went straight for the master.
I always do that. That's why you're here.
I am the meta meaning maker.
You gotta talk like your Darth Vader.
I am your father.
Get out of here! That's amazing.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Did I learn that? Yeah, I actually.
How did you do that?
You would have laughed. My business partner's son, when he was born, he named him Luke. So I left a voicemail for him and father. Apparently that was never said in the movie, but everybody could swear they heard that. But anyway, yeah. So I really enjoyed delivering that.
That line.
Spite.
What I was coming to with that was, imagine the people who are trying to connect the dots and seeing Azlan being so vulnerable. And finally, in about a year's time, I've connected the dots. Imagine the value that'll be to them.
That is really beautiful.
Azlan has crossed the bridge, and we saw him trying to cross the bridge, and he was
frustrated. And I have to watch this video 3 times. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
It seems very,
And to know it's possible. Yeah. And to know there's one crazy guy who's beaten the social norms, reconstructed his brain, crossed the limiting beliefs, changed his meta. Wow, I'm learning fast. But anyway, in 1 year's time, I want to watch this and say, what has happened to Azlan? 1 year from now, if I'm still alive,
yeah,
I would like to see my growth because consistency is king, and I found a way to do it.
Yeah, I think that your courage is such a huge factor in this. The courage to be humble, the courage to believe that you're allowed to expose parts of you that don't measure up.
Work in progress.
That is epic. And I feel for the young people, some of them that are listening to this, who don't have the endurance to stay at something mentally before they have mental fatigue. What causes mental fatigue is this. The subconscious is saying to you, you're not going to get this. Why are you wasting your time? Do you just want to embarrass yourself? You're not good at this. They already told you you're not that smart.
3 people told you that you haven't changed.
Yeah. So when you, as a young person, are trying to focus, but you have anxiety around learning something new, you will fatigue fast mentally because your subconscious is being a dick. It thinks it's doing you a favor and protecting you from embarrassment and that, right? Because why? Isn't it better that you run from a challenge so that no one has evidence you failed a challenge than to actually embrace the challenge and fail forward to the other side, you see? So I put it to people watching our journey, right? Mental fatigue is the first obstacle because you are fighting yourself and not giving yourself permission to just make mistakes and learn from them. And know that it's such a beautiful, dignified way to be, that you're allowed to make as many mistakes on the journey. And those mistakes are experiential. So, when we talked about lived experience, learning from someone else who's failed forward and who has a lot to share around that journey, your own lived experience of failing forward is even 10 times better than that, because you have the visceral understanding of what does not work, and that builds momentum for to find what will work. And if we don't have an appetite to learn, what are we doing? What kind of fate are we solidifying for ourselves so that every day things won't change that much into 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And that we didn't sign up to as humans to be that.
Yeah.
Did we? So I love the fact that you saw this as, oh my gosh, there's a genuine value for people to see me struggle and, and poke at myself and go, what the hell? What's this? And be really vulnerable and not even be in control of where it's going. Do you know that is true courage? Because you know what a lot of
That's actually scary. Sometimes I think about it. I say, Azlan, where are you going? But it's okay, let's go. And I always think about Paris and how I got lost and I loved it. And I always ended up in the right place.
yeah,
That's the only, but it's scary. It is scary. Like, I don't
it
know
is
where I'm going
scary.
with this. What am I going to do? What's going to happen to the family? What about my wife? What will people think about her and me? And I'm a clown. And then you got all this thinking, like you said, your mental fatigue. It is scary, I have to admit. But then I just go, no, then realigns with my value. It has the engine, the petrol, it has to all come together. And that's why I told you, like the petrol and engine, you've helped me figure that out. But I still don't know where I'm going. I'm just driving with a pedal, going, let's go.
Yeah, there are coordinates that you trust in.
Yeah, yeah.
You trust in the process.
Yeah.
And that process is, if I just sit with confusion and just look at it more closely and just slowly dismantle what doesn't make sense and put together what does, I'm going to get somewhere better.
Yeah.
And it takes faith that the unseen God universe has got so much elegance in interconnected truths to leverage into being a superhuman, to have a super life, that whenever you are captured by deception, self-deception, that if you slow down, you will start to see the deception points and dissolve them to reclaim the oxygen of truth, to power you forward with better alignment, flow, and meaningfulness.
Oh, well said.
I'm the master, remember?
Put me up on a pedestal.
Kick it down.
So for a kid who's watching, what would our advice be to somebody who's faced with mental fatigue? Because there's self-criticism involved. There's their parents' upbringing involved. Like my wife, for example, she can't make mistakes. It was shunned upon, so she never did mistakes. And then there's also the social element of it, which is the school thinking I was a clown, so they blocked me. Like, what would we say? Maybe one or two things to a kid. I think for me, what really worked for me was surrounding myself with like-minded people who believed in me. Because to be honest, my upbringing, my mother always said to me, being funny and being happy is the most important thing. She never really cared about academics. So at home, I was fine. I was secure at home. And then I had a friend who really believed in me. And he was funny, and we were both considered broken and at school. And we both stuck together and we grew our skill sets together. But one thing that I wasn't really good at or knew about was how to manage my self-criticism. That was at that age, I didn't know. I only learned that when I was like 20, So I think that those three things for me, I mean, having someone at home who can support you. Not everybody has that luxury, I know. Or even going to like Reddit or anywhere like social to find like-minded people. And then surrounding yourself. I think the most powerful one was surrounding myself with a friend who was like me and we would riff off each other's humor.
Well, you're answering the question, like for anyone that feels like, how do I start a journey to another? Surround yourself with someone who also wants the same thing and be that for each other. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And if you're struggling, then just learn to be that for yourself long enough to then find someone that you can recognize who's on that journey. Education is so focused on just basic survival work.
Yeah, where is self-reflection? Where is self-awareness? Like, where is that stuff? Like
but look, where is the parental environment?
Yeah.
See, who's educating the parents? Like, we're talking about family lineage that pass down the same meta meanings.
Yeah, that's right.
For hundreds and hundreds of years. Where is society circuit breaking some of the destructive memes being passed down? And I would say there is attempts, there is education from academics, there is pop culture, conversations around, can we be different? This is how to be different. I know that
Mental Health Day makes you aware of it. Like, oh.
Yeah. I know that there is a mechanism, but we don't seem to be optimizing to reach the impressionable children with consistency of initiating them into the kind of citizen that balances individuality, personal self-worth with the duty to be a wonderful citizen to the planet, to the environment. We're not initiating that purposefully. And I think part of the reason is because everyone's arguing about what that looks like.
Yeah.
So we don't have a streamlined alignment to say we're landing here, people,
Yeah.
and going to, you know what I mean? But I think what we all should be agreeing with, but we somehow haven't got there yet,
Yep.
is what balance looks like. Do you know what I mean? Like, because everyone can argue ideologies, but if you argue one way and get your way only, that's an extreme. If someone else is arguing another way, then you need to find the value of that and enroll it in the solution. If we start to realize that, hang on a minute, I'm going to pull the value out of you, Azlan, in an argument I'm having with you. I'm going to pull the value out of that. And I'm going to be responsible for how that value would help my current point of view.
Right.
To earn your trust and you then being curious as to why I see value on my side for you to do the same. I think that's the key.
Right.
If we all learn to do that, then I think we're going to land on better giving our children, not just through parenting, but then at school, environments that balance them even more.
Perfectly said. I've actually had a first-hand experience from, when somebody says something, you go, isn't that a gift though? Whenever there's a conflict or contradicting viewpoint, it's like you said, you grow most from those from that feedback, that kind of feedback.
So do you want to finish off with the meaning maker?
Let's do it. Let's listen to the song that you've created. I love this beat, by the way. I'm a big R&B soul fan. It's my favorite genre besides lo-fi.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. This is the George special.
The meaning maker. Oh, yeah. Can you feel it?
I love this beat.
Check it out.
Are you going to start rapping?
However we come at this, it's a zero-sum game. Laws of nature dictate, systems stay the same. Can we survive? Further to thrive, question the why, vibrate flesh to life. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Just an adventure, dare or don't. Passenger of meaning, told what to be, how to see, until that day to break free, to become the meaning maker. 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 Overwhelm hits the scene with too much to be. Tongue twisting the talk, falling forward the walk. Fail forward to learn, blood and sweat the earn. Sorrow for the pain, joy for the gain. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Just an adventure, dare or don't. Passenger of meaning, told what to be, how to see, until that day to break free, to become the meaning maker. The meaning maker. The meaning maker. The meaning maker. I offended the masses who rolled downstream. They resented the splashes of the curious teen. Too young to rebel, pressure to conform, to limit the level, follow their form. Shut my eyes by their lies. Universe trembling, suppression failing, warrior humbling, obligation fumbling. The past cracking, the moment imploding, the mold transforming, the future reforming. I lit up my will, stay the same, I won't. Loving the adventure, staying the same, I won't. Passenger of meaning, told what to be,
have it.
You should do an album like this.
And I think that song wrapped up nicely what we talked about.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you next week. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Thank you for joining the Reinvent You show.
And remember, don't take yourself or life too seriously.